Life is a journey. Every day we wake up, there's a new piece of the journey to be discovered. At the end of each day, we are wiser than we were when we woke up. There's something so powerful to me about the end of the day. When it gets late and you're left all alone with your thoughts, it's the time of the day where everything finally slows down and the things that are truly important to you swims up to the surface of your mind. There's something about the dark sky and the moon and the clouds and the stars that seem so close but are so far away that really moves and inspires me. It's the time of the day where I do my most thinking. It's the time of the day where I'm the most creative. I'm really in my element at nighttime. And it's even more dope when I'm high. Ever since I can remember, music has been the soundtrack to my journey. I used to write songs with my cousin and my brother as a child, and we would perform in front of family members, and I knew I always wanted to make my own music. And ever since I was little, I've been writing all my life, but when it came to actually start recording music, I always doubted myself. I always lacked the resources or the connections, and in a sense, I was always making excuses for myself. I was 6 years old, and my family had just moved to Georgia from Mississippi, and I went to the playground with my dad and my brother Ryan, and I was always afraid of the monkey bars. I was so energetic as a child, and I would literally do everything else, but when it came to the monkey bars, I was terrified. Even at that age, there was something about the monkey bars that was just terrifying, and the fear of falling was a big thing for me at that age, and I didn't think I would make it all the way across. And my dad and my brother, they're like, you can do it, just try, you gotta do it, and trying to get me to face my fears, and I would see Ryan just go do it like it was nothing, and I wanted to do it too, so I get up there, and I get halfway down the monkey bars, and I fall. And I landed on my elbow, and I broke my arm, and it was horrible. Like, I remember walking home screaming because I had never felt anything so excruciating before. And I was rushed to the hospital, and my parents were getting into it really bad in the car, and it was just really bad. And for that entire summer, I had to wear a cast on my arm, my left arm. The arm that I used to write with, to draw, to color. At that age, my left arm was my best friend, and I lost that. And I couldn't do anything that entire summer, and I was so mad at my dad and my brother for making me do it. But I grew up, and I thank them for it now. Especially my dad. It was so much bigger than the monkey bars for him. Of course, I was too young to see it or realize at the time, but he was trying to instill in me that you'll never know if you're gonna be able to do something if you don't try. You'll never know if you'll succeed or not if you're not willing to try it. And sometimes you fail, sometimes you fall, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And I failed, and I broke my arm, and it ruined my summer, but it taught me so much in the long run. And I feel like it was probably the reason why I had the courage to try in life. It was probably the reason why I had the courage to compete in all those competitions growing up. eventually, my parents ended up getting a divorce, and it was a really horrible divorce. And, you know, I was in 10th grade, and it took a big toll on me because I was so used to having a family structure up until that point. And suddenly, in the midst of the years where I'm trying to grow up and find myself, my entire world as I knew it just changed, and there was nothing that I could do about it. I love my parents so much, and it was so tough watching them fall out of love. Fast forward to my senior year of high school, and just when I think I'm finally starting to get back into the groove and I'm finally enjoying life again, and I'm having the time of my life, and I get my first car, this black Honda Civic, and the year is almost over, and spring break is coming around. It's about to be prom. Me and my friends had planned this trip to Panama City for spring break, and my life changed again. I was woken up one night out of my sleep, and I had a bunch of missed calls and text messages on my phone, and the first message I read was like, your brother was just shot. And I was just kind of stunned for a while. And I got on Twitter, and the first thing that I read on my timeline was, "Rest in peace, Ryan Henderson."
Well, meanwhile, the search continues tonight for a gunman who shot and killed a JSU freshman over the weekend.
Tonight, hundreds turned out for a vigil in the student's memory, and now his mother is making some strong accusations about a possible campus cover-up. 19-year-old Nolan Ryan Henderson was shot once in the face just after 1 o'clock Sunday morning at a pool party off campus.
It was all over the news in Mississippi and in Georgia. And everywhere I turned, everywhere I looked, I couldn't get my mind off of it. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. I lost the only person in the whole entire world who knew me like the back of their hand, the only person that has been with me and experienced everything that I've experienced since I was born. And I couldn't even breathe properly because for that entire week I was working my ass off, online, making petitions, emailing news stations, on the phone with news stations, doing interviews and making posters with my mom and my cousins, and planning rallies and marching around campus. You know what I mean? It was crazy. It became so much that I didn't even allow myself the time to grieve properly. I didn't allow myself the time to think about it too deep.
This one's for you.
I never imagined witnessing my family on the news fighting for justice like we were. Like, that was the most far-fetched idea for me. I was 17, and I don't think I've ever been the same since then. Life can change at the blink of an eye, and you never know when it's going to be your last time waking up. You never know when it's going to be your last time seeing the sun, when it's going to be your last time seeing the moon. And I knew I had to chase my dreams after that. I knew that I had to fulfill my purpose and not wait around for somebody to do it for me. I knew I needed to put something out into the universe before it was too late. I don't know when my time is going to run out, and I don't want to look back 30, 50 years down the road if I make it that far and regret not trying. And as I was growing up, in the midst of all the chaos, I was constantly being pulled in all these different directions, and You know, my dad wanted me to go to a HBCU and pledge Omega like he did and like Ryan was gonna do. And my mom wanted me to go into the medical field so that I would have job security. And just all these different, just being pulled from all these different places is stressful. And, you know, of course, everybody wasn't okay and pleased with my life and sexuality. And even within that, there's so many stupid standards and stereotypes within that people create. And it's almost like if you don't fall under these standards or these stereotypes, then you're not being yourself. You're not who you are. You're not who you say you are, and you're a fraud or you're fake. And really, I'm just being myself. And I had to forget what everybody wanted me to be, wanted me to do. I had to forget all of that and just do my own thing and find my own path and go my own way. And that was the best thing for me to do. I like to think of the quest as a love story with a bad ending. Of course, I would like for it to have had a good ending, but realistically, it doesn't always work out that way. Especially for me. When I first made the decision to make my first project, I had to ask myself, well, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? What message are you putting out into the universe? And it was the hardest question for me to answer, you know, because there were so many different things that I wanted to say. There were so many different things that I wanted to get off my chest and to release. And I said, why not just tell my story? Why not just talk about the things that really happened to me in life and the things that I can actually personally relate to, and not just write rhymes to write rhymes, but really have a purpose. And that purpose for me was therapy. I write to heal. I write to release. And when I don't have anybody to talk to, or even when I do have people to talk to and just don't feel like talking to anyone, I talk to myself. And that gets boring sometimes. So I write it all down and I try to make sense of it all and try to make it all rhyme. And it's fun for me and it's therapeutic.
Yeah, so we came to the bowling alley and Peanut tried to act like, oh, well, you know, I'm gonna pay for everybody's stuff. Little did he know that nigga actually owes us money. So I'm like, don't try to play it off.
Like it's a gift.
Yeah, I don't like that. When you owe me money, put my money in my hand.
Because I want my money. Yeah, don't try to accept. Because what if I didn't want to bowl? What if I just wanted my fucking money? So when that nigga come over here, I'm gonna tell him. I got on the
I started searching for producers online because I wanted to personally work with up-and-coming producers and not just take the easy route and find a bunch of beats online, but really personally work with people and build connections and you know, hopefully create some good art from it. And I wanted my project to be cohesive. I wanted it to be a body of work and not just another mixtape with a bunch of random tracks thrown together, but really all make sense as a whole. I wanted producers who could deliver something that moved me, something that made me feel, because it's so much easier to write to that for me. And someone who was versatile and who was patient and who was willing to work with the new artists who had everything to say about the smallest little details, and it ended up working out pretty well. My cousin Shelby had introduced me to her boyfriend Jude in Houston, and he produces and he sent me some of his stuff, and I was so hyped by what I heard. He had sent me some snippets, and maybe like a few days later, I I had 2 whole songs written from like minute-long snippets. Yeah, Damién and Supreme were the first 2 songs that I wrote from just snippets. And it was before I had a concept, it was before I had a name. I was just making songs and having fun. And I feel like you can hear that. And I was just happy to be able to just make my own shit finally and be in my own space. And I was free and I was able to just say what I wanted to say. And nobody could judge me, nobody could look at me any type of way. I could just do what I want to do and say what I want to say. And it was so relieving. And the hook in Damién is a chopped and screwed particular part of this song. It's called "Wanna Be a Baller" by Lil Troy that I remember from when I was a kid. When I had sent the song to my engineer, Gerard, who happens to be my cousin, he sent it back to me one random night, like he always does, and I was so hyped by what I was hearing that I said, you know what, I'm gonna put this out, like right now. And so I put it out. I was so nervous because this was the first time that my art was being put out into the universe. This is the first song that people were hearing from me. And just like any other artist, I'm sensitive about my shit. And it was so nerve-wracking. But I put it out and I received so much positive feedback that it really inspired me to keep going. And sometimes when you're in your own studio by yourself and you're the only person besides your engineer that actually hears your music, and sometimes it helps to get that outside opinion and that outside ear. Putting that song out randomly was probably the best decision that I made, because it really pushed me to keep going. That spring semester of college was ending and it was the summertime, and it was grind time.
Ignition, renew it.
You want us to be like,
come on. That's not bad. Go. Ready? Hold on, Sam don't have in the drink. Oh. Okay. You messing with me. We like old people like this. We are old. Right. What the shit? What the hell? Hey.
One day I was browsing through SoundCloud and I came across this producer from Chicago named Q. And I really loved how versatile and dope his sound was. And I reached out and he was down to work with me. And I told him that I wanted something that was kind of dark and abstract and something different, but something hard. And that's how On the East came about. I loved how simple it was. It was so different from anything that I've heard before. And it was kind of dark, but it was so hard at the same time. And the bass is really what sold me. And the beat was so offset that initially I didn't even know how to approach it. And one day it was in the summertime, I was hotboxing in my car with my friend Kasim, and I had played him the instrumental. And we were just kind of in the car, and we just kind of started freestyling. And I'm like, Damez, he was 6, moved to Atlanta, born in Mississippi, crossed over Alabama. And then I just kind of had that line in my head, and I just repeated it over and over in my head until I was able to get home and write it down. and write some more to it. And I ended up writing this story about my life, if you will. And when I finished it, I said to myself, this would be perfect for an intro. There's so much that makes up who I am as a person. And there's so many different sides of me. I feel like there's so many different sides of everybody. And I kind of feel like to judge somebody off of one side or one angle or one perspective, you know, I feel like it's unfair. And there are times when I'm really confident and I feel like can't nobody say shit to me, and I'm that nigga, and I'm the shit, and I'm just in my element. And you know, there are times where I'm not so confident, and I'm not so, you know, and I'm nervous, and I'm self-conscious, and I don't feel as great, and I don't feel like I'm where I need to be. And there are times where I feel like being social and talking to people and being around people, and there are times where I don't, and I feel like being by myself and being alone and in my room in the dark. And I really wanted to show all the different sides of me with this project. Money on my mind. I got money on my young Damién.
You rap, you sing?
You gonna check me out?
Yeah, I'm from Mississippi.
Me too.
Where? I'm from Tupelo. Really?
Yeah.
I've been here like 45 days.
I've been here for like 14 years.
Wow. And this is what you do. Pretty damn cool. I was like, that's somebody famous. Like, what are you talking about? Oh no, it's somebody famous. What's your name now?
Damez.
D-A-M-E-Z. D-A-M-E-Z. Damez. Gotcha. Damn.
During the summer, I did a lot of traveling. And for the first time, I was able to go out and experience different things by myself. Of course, I've traveled before, but it was the first time that I was able to go without family or even friends and just be by my whole entire self and really experience every aspect of the journey. I went to New Orleans, and then I went to Houston. Then I came to home to Mississippi to see some family. And then I went back home to Atlanta for a couple of weeks. And then I went to New York City. It inspired the project so much. Sometimes when you're in the same space, in the same vicinity for so long, it kind of feels like it's your whole universe. And sometimes you need to get out and see different buildings and different places and just kind of get reminded that there's a whole big world out there. And traveling it does that for me. It makes me realize that, you know, how small and trivial certain things are that I let stress me out. And you know, you get away and you get far from home, and suddenly none of that shit even matters anymore. Waking up in a different bed, in a different room, waking up in a different city, meeting new people, seeing new faces, seeing new streets and new buildings, and breathing new air is so refreshing and rejuvenating and powerful to me. I was able to forget about everything I had going on and really just relax and enjoy myself. I had been to Houston and New Orleans and even New York City before, but you know, of course, I wasn't old enough to really do anything. And you know, this time I didn't go to museums, I didn't stay in hotels. I was really focused on relaxing and writing and gaining new inspiration for the project. I flew alone for the first time. I ate at new restaurants. I went to see On the Run in New Jersey. And I rode the subway everywhere. I stayed in Bed-Stuy for a few days. And of course I had to do some shopping in Times Square, but I really got the whole experience. And that was the goal. I met some really cool, interesting people during my travels, and I was able to even come back home to Mississippi for a few days and see some family and kind of get reminded of where it all started, and it kind of put things back in perspective for me. Me and Jew had the chance to meet finally when I was in Houston, and I just remember being high as hell that whole weekend off of that H-Town pack. And I remember being in his living room, and he was just in his element, and he was just making his beats and in his zone. I can't fucking lose my mind. I just want to turn up. It's a good time. We can go to the club line. Damez. Yeah. I just wanna turn up. I just want a good time. I just wanna drink and fucking lose my mind. I just wanna turn up. It's a good time. The only reason it gotta come out December 9th because it ain't gonna make sense unless it do. Because it's called Midnight on Cloud 9. So it's like 12/9 type shit. December 9th, so they ain't gonna if I don't release that shit on the night, it's gonna be like off. It's gonna be off. So
I mean, really, it'll be off to you, but it won't be off to nobody else. The 12/9, that it just makes it more cooler than this. Cause don't set yourself on December 9th. Well,
I've been working though. I've been working.
Hey, you gonna have to, because, bro, hey, I think every mixtape I ever did, I done pushed it back. Some of the players was pushed back like 3 months. Even though we was done with the material, just everything went right to release it. Yeah. Right.
I feel like I've been working on this shit over a year now.
Yeah.
That shit gotta come out tonight. Like I've been working hard to make sure it come out tonight. Really all the songs. True. Me and Messiah have been friends for some time now. And I never told him, but I admire and look up to him so much. You know, he's such an artist, and he knows who he is and he knows what he wants. And he invited me out to the studio, one of his studio sessions after I had put out Damién. And it was so dope to witness someone else have so much input about the smallest details, because I'm like that. And I knew I wanted to work with him eventually. We had talked about it, and I was just kind of waiting on the perfect opportunity or the perfect song to come along. Jew had sent me some more beats over the summer, and what came from that email was the party.
Floating, I'm twisted, my thoughts are kinda shifted. We ain't even made it to the party yet, and these niggas still trying to get lifted. Goddamn, I'm fucked up. Tonight you might luck up. Get a chance with Damez, and I just might fill your cup up.
The beat was so hard, and it just made me feel like I was at a party somewhere, you know, just turned the fuck up. And a lot of my songs are a bit autobiographical, and they tend to kind of tell my own story, but I wanted something that I feel like anybody could listen to, and something that made you want to dance and want to turn up, and something that felt good. And I sent the song to Messiah, and he loved it. And my nigga Dose was the engineer, and we actually we ended up having to record that song over a couple of different sessions because it was just so much that went into it. And I mean, it took a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours in the studio, but we got it done. And I'm so glad that we did, because I feel like it turned out great. A lot of my favorite albums have certain songs that kind of like two songs in one, where they kind of just go somewhere else into a different dimension or different, you know, world almost, if you will. And I really wanted to capture that. So a lot of the songs, like The Party, kind of go into a different realm, if you will. My niece was born towards the end of the summer, so we had to go back to Mississippi, of course. And I'm so glad that I went, because it was such a beautiful moment. And there was so much genuine love and joy that was just like in the air, and it just felt so good. And I don't think I've seen my mom that happy in such a long time. And you know, life is precious and it's short, and it's moments like that that remind me how precious life is, and that there's always something that you can smile about. And I was able to drive to Hattiesburg and actually record in the studio with my cousin and engineer Gerard, and not just send him the songs through Dropbox, but actually be there. And it was really dope. Say something for the cam, Matt.
We having money.
Hey. Supreme is definitely one of my favorite records on the project, if not my favorite. When Juice sent me that beat and I heard it for the first time, it just like seeped into my soul, and I started writing to it, and it freed so much pain, it freed so much stress. And I wrote the verses in a day, and I didn't care who said what about what I was saying. I didn't have any filter. I was just going, and I feel like you can hear that in the record. Evan, one of my close friends, is currently incarcerated right now, and he's in prison. And the night before he went, he invited all of his homies out to come parlay one last time. And, you know, towards the end of the night, I ended up recording a piece of him talking to all of us, just a conversation that we were having. And it was such a powerful moment at the time that I thought to get out my phone and start recording. And I forgot that I had the recording up until maybe almost 2 years later when I started working on this project, and I rediscovered it. And I said, you know, I could use this some kind of way. And so that's why Evan is credited as Black Boy on Supreme. Free my nigga, man. I'm so involved with every aspect of my music, and I've gotten on my producers and my engineers' last nerves because I'm so precise and so particular when it comes to the smallest details. And Supreme, just for perspective, was mixed and mastered probably 10 different times before I was like, okay, this is the one. And you know, I pay attention to the smallest details, and it was so important to me that I made this project as great as it could be because it was my first one. And the challenge was accepting that some things just weren't possible. A lot of things that I wanted to do, I just couldn't do. Embracing the artistic views and contributions of my producers and my engineers, and accepting that everything wasn't going to be perfect the first time around, and embracing that imperfection and allowing it to further emphasize the message of the overall project. I think all artists should be that heavily involved. I think that art form is lost in music. People make music for all the wrong reasons these days. You know, I feel like it lacks substance, and it lacks truth, and it lacks sincerity. If it doesn't move me, I can't write to it. A part of growing up is pacing yourself, and I realized that I can only do so much by myself, and there's a lot of different people that contributed creatively to this project, and I can't say thank you enough. You know, all of you have been part of something really, really great, and I'm so grateful for all the artistic contributions that helped to make this project what it is. I didn't want to put it up for streaming immediately. I wanted people to download it and listen to it in its entirety, and listen to the whole thing and get the whole idea and the whole picture. And you know, it's a story, and every song kind of connects to each other. You know, you start off the day, and you feeling good and you know you making moves and you link up with your squad and y'all go turn up, y'all have a good time, and you know you get back home and niggas still trying to turn up, so y'all have, you know, another session and everybody's feeling good and in their zone, and there's that time of the day or the night where everybody leaves and you're left alone by yourself with your own thoughts, and you have all these drugs and alcohol in your system that kind of are controlling or exemplifying these thoughts and these emotions, and you just start thinking about everything that's going on in life, and eventually you reach a state of contentment, and you reach a state of triumph, if you will, and you kind of allow all those fucked up things that's going on to kind of motivate you for the next day. It's so personal, and initially I was so afraid to make it so personal because I've always been a very private person myself, and you know, I realized that it was the only way to do it. Especially the latter half of the record is really, really personal, and I was so hesitant about putting Sinner on the final track list because that song is definitely really, really personal, and I needed to do that though for myself. I needed to let all of that fear go and share that part about my life, because I know that there are so many people out there that are experiencing the same thing or who have experienced the same thing, and I kind of want to just help people out, you know, in their own journeys, and let them know that you can make it through and you can get through it, and you know, from what I've been through, and some people will love it, some people won't, some people won't even give it a chance, but it's not about the numbers to me. You know, for me, just knowing that I set a goal and I accomplished it, and I did something that I said I was gonna do, and you know, something that is gonna be in the universe forever, way beyond myself. And I tried, and you know, I can never fault myself for that. There's so many different messages in the music, and it was important to me that I got all those messages across. You know, I wanted to show people that it doesn't matter how far-fetched an idea is. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish it. And I wanted to show people that you can go through the most horrific tragedies in life and still chase your dreams and still live your life to the fullest. I wanted to show people that you can be who you are, and who you are is good enough. And you don't have to conform to anybody's standards or expectations, or place yourself in anybody's categories. You can just be who you are, you know, like what you want to like, listen to what you want to listen to, wear what you want to wear, and that's okay, and everything else will fall into place. And you know, when everything's said and done and the day is over and midnight comes back around and you're all alone with yourself and your own thoughts, the only expectations that matter at that point are your own. When midnight rolls back around, I can sleep peacefully knowing that it's out. And I've worked so hard on this project for over a year now, and I can finally say I'm an artist and this is my art. And I just hope that people can experience it and enjoy it as much as I did creating it, and that they love it. Midnight on Cloud 9. Check it out.
You gotta believe in yourself.